Hey there, how are you today? My name is Dana Demara, and you have landed on Astrocast. I want to welcome you if this is your first time here. Um, and thank you if this isn't your first time here. So I've got a lot to cover today. I wanted to do a report for Mars and Aries, which happened on May 25th. But honestly, I just, because of world events, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I'm going to do it today. And I'm going to combine it with the new moon Gemini because both of these forecasts are really important to note. And for me, when I look up at the sky and I see what's going on, everything makes sense. And Mars in Aries is really powerful. I think the last time Mars was in Aries was like January or June to December 2020. And it was in retrograde. So it was in Aries for 6 months. And now it will only be in Aries for 6 weeks, which is really important. Mars is the initiator. Mars is the one that wants you to move forward with courage and passion and, a purpose. Mars is the masculine. Mars is the planet of initiation. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So when Mars goes into Aries, Mars is like, well, come on, let's go. Let's move into this new life or this newfound inspiration that we have realized, or this newfound purpose. And let's move into it without fear, without self-doubt, without any kind of second guessing ourselves. And so understanding this is really important. I actually want to show you my screen because there's a whole bunch of planets actually in Aries. And I'm going to put on my glasses. So if you see here, we've got Chiron, and then here's Mars in Aries. And then actually, I misspoke. We have all these planets in this like beginning of the first and the end of the fourth quadrant. So we've got a ton of planets in Gemini, Taurus, and Aries, right? And so we have all this energy during the new moon that is really important to note. Okay, so first of all, let's go back a little bit to Mars and Aries. You're going to see this little KO. This is Chiron. So Chiron has been in Aries since 2018 and will stay in Aries until 2026 or 2025. And this is all about healing. And Chiron stays in Aries for the longest stint of time. So really, we've been spending a lot of time. Anybody who was born in between 1968 and 1977 has been going through some healing stuff. Maybe not. That's just the energy. But with Mars in Aries now, Mars is really saying like, show us who you really are. Be courageous, be bold. Don't be stupid. Don't pull the plug on a relationship, quit a job. Don't do anything that is impulsive. Mars isn't impulsive. Mars is very strategic. Mars is like, take action and move toward your new life, whatever it is that you wanted to do, right? Or say, or be, or contribute. And the one thing with that's really powerful that I think we all have to remember, and I'm going to get to how this is all really important with this new moon too. The thing to remember with Mars and Aries, and then putting yourself out there to whatever it is that you want to do, be, or contribute, whether it's with as little contribution or like something big. We have to be open and prepared for reverberation, right? So every action creates some other action. Even inaction creates an action. So we have to be prepared for people's judgment. We have to be prepared for other people's feedback, what they think. And so this energy is about getting really strong, if you haven't already, in what you value, what you feel is important in your life, and just like sticking to that. Like, this is my side of the street. This is what I love. This is what I am going to do. This is my life. Now we can do that in a super compassionate, loving, kind way. We needn't be like rude or bullyish, right? So keep that in mind as you, some of you who've been following these, you know that this is kind of what we're leading up to. And if you haven't been paying attention to world events, this is kind of what the world events are leading us up to as well. And it's not always pretty. Sometimes it's super uncomfortable, kind of a mess, but it spurs us into action. It spurs us into saying like, okay, I'm ready to do the thing. I'm ready to start my program. I'm ready to, leave the thing. I'm ready to take this next leap. It can be scary, but so is inaction. So is just allowing life to kind of pass you by. In fact, to me, that's even more scary because at the end of my life, I want to be able to say that I jumped through some hoops and I did some really silly things, but I never hurt anyone. And I always tried for what I wanted, So just know that this energy is, I'm going to put the screen back on. Just know that this energy is really asking you to use that Agni, that fire in the belly. I want to give you some dates here too. Mars is in Aries from May 25th to July 5th. So during that time is like, it's a time to act. It's a time to be where you want to be with your purpose and your power and your passion and your truth. So all of that lives in third chakra. All of that is about the belly. So paying attention to digestive issues, how you're wielding your power, where you're putting your power, that sort of thing. So just be super, super mindful. It's a really beautiful time to take appropriate action. Again, this is about leading your most authentic life. And, I never want to sound prophetic or like I'm reading from a canned script. And so I always film one take, and I try not to even do any like edits unless I sneeze or something, right? And so, authenticity is one of my middle names. And so, I want you to understand that authentic doesn't mean perfect. Authentic doesn't mean that you have to share every single thing in your life. It just means that when you go to bed at night, like you could rest one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, and you can go, yeah, okay, I'm in alignment. And a couple of ways to know, like if you're not, is if there's this underlying anxiety, or if you feel like you're pushing the river. Like courage to act doesn't mean you struggle. It means that you've been pointed in the direction of your path and you're ready to jump on it because all signs point in that direction, and then I think it's like Gabby Bernstein talks about, and I've actually talked about for years too, like my inner guidance, my intuition, my spirit guides, God, spirit, source, universe, ancestors, prayer, meditation, all of that has supported me in knowing how to act and when to wait for the last 20 years, So I think with Mars and Aries, and I'm going to get to the new moon here, just listen to your heart and like ask yourself what's next and when, and is it time? And if it's time, then just do the thing. Just be courageous and bold. Yeah. Okay. I'm so excited about the new moon. It's been a tough week for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you out there. This was a super challenging. I felt like sitting here and like talking about astrology, I was just like, what the hell does it matter? I felt like that. And I still sometimes, even before recording this, I was like, what are you doing? Like go out and march for gun laws. And then I thought, no, this is powerful. This is understanding what's happening in the world doesn't distract me. It actually gives me more fuel and more like a wink, wink from the universe. Like, yeah, girl, you're going the right way. And I also think that understanding now Mars and Aries is like, whoa, okay. Courage to act, but don't be impulsive and do everything with breath. Okay. All right, let me share my screen with this new moon because the new moon is really quite beautiful. Okay, so I know I said earlier a bunch of planets in Aries. I made a mistake, so we're here. We've got the new moon in the sign of Gemini on May 30th, and it's at this number 9. So 9th degree, the number 9 in any kind of numerology or anything like that is a super auspicious number. It's the last single digit. And it's also, when you, like, if you look at mala beads, or if you look at prayer beads or a rosary, there's 108 beads. And that's a derivative of 9, so there's this energy in the number 9 that is very indicative of new beginnings. And so we're looking at new beginnings, and in the sign of Cancer, or in the sign of Gemini, it's very optimistic. It's like a breath of fresh air. It doesn't come without its little snags and little lessons, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, but it is beautiful energy. Now, one thing to note with this new moon, if you look down here, we've only got one planet in a water sign. So there's a lot of earth happening during the new moon, which is gorgeous because it tends to ground our energy. And if you look here, you'll see, what do we have here? In the sign of Taurus, we've got the North Node, we've got Mercury, we've got Uranus, and we've got Venus, all in the sign of Taurus. Venus loves being in the sign of Taurus. Uranus has been there, seems like forever. And Mercury, Mercury's still in retrograde. Mercury will be in retrograde until June, I want to get this right, June 3rd. And even then, when Mercury goes direct, it'll still be in a little shadow stage. So just be mindful. And I don't know if I should say fortunately or unfortunately, the day after Mercury goes direct, Saturn is going to go retrograde. And so they're not exactly conjunct each other during that time, but they're within 1 degree orbit. So this is, this is a very Saturnian type of energy as well. So when we're talking about new beginnings with Gemini, and we're talking about optimism, you look out in the world right now, and as I'm recording this, we just experienced this massive tragedy in Texas, and it's just really uprooted, uprooted a lot of things that are outdated in our system, and problems and issues in our society that are systemic. And so when I think of new beginnings, and I think of like wanting to make a change, there's going to be those people or those sectors that are like, but this is the way we've always done it, but we've always done it this way. Let's just keep doing it this way because we want to stay comfortable, right? And so I feel like what's happening slowly is that our planet is shifting, and the way we do things is shifting. And so there's these tendrils of pieces of our society that are holding on to the old, which just doesn't work anymore. And I also feel like now that we have instant access to the truth of everything, right, through our phones, that also can create and provide an illusion. Our internal compass needs to be so tuned in, right? Because you could watch a video on your phone and you don't know how doctored up that video is. You have no idea. We don't know the truth. And so this internal compass needs to be highly attuned so that when you go to create a new beginning or a new something or a new anything or embark on something new, you have to know here where it's coming from. And I point to my heart on purpose. So with this energy, with the new moon, there's almost like this breath of fresh air. That doesn't mean what's gone on in this moment in time is erased and we're just going to forget it. It means that it's time for something new. It's time for new energy. It's time for new people in charge. It's time for new ideas, new ways of being and doing things. And you don't have to go out. When I talk about this, sometimes I feel like people may think they have to go out and like do these big things and make these big changes, right? And sometimes it feels that way, but that's not it. We are just the microcosm of the macrocosm. And when we make little changes in our life, from the way we respond to the way we kind of run our life, little teeny tiny changes. Maybe we say hello to the person at the grocery store. Maybe we let someone go in front of us, you know, maybe we don't get upset when someone cuts us off. Like these little things that we do throughout our day create these massive ripples that change the world. So as I talk about this, I could just go off, and I'm a little bit off on a tangent, but not really, because these things that are happening on the planet right now, I want you to understand that it's all moving in a positive direction, even though it doesn't look that way. So I'm going to share my screen, and that's kind of a hard thing to say because I feel very much full of grief. I feel very angry. I still feel like I don't feel rageful anymore, but I feel a little angry and a little upset. But I have to always come back to the remembrance that there's a bigger plan and I know nothing about it. So if we can pray and make little changes in our life that is just more positive, more loving, like things will shift. I promise. So let's talk about this new moon. Super positive, very empowering time, because we just left the eclipse season. Okay. And I don't think the next eclipses happen till October. So we've got some breathing room here. Tons of energy after all of this chaotic, like all of May has just been like bing, bang, boom, bang, like almost like a little ball in a pinball machine. But the moon is making some super great aspects with Jupiter and also Mars. So it's going to help us to feel more energetic. I know in San Diego, it's been really cloudy the last like week, and it's like, oh, you know, I know that some of you who are watching this, you're like, it's cloudy here all the time, but it does affect our energy. I want you to think about making the most of this lunation. And by that, I mean, focus on the positive. Don't shove things under the rug, but focus on the positive. Go back to the dreams that you had, you know, the things that you really desire, because this energy is like a new, it's really truly like a new breath of fresh air. It's going to feel like a whoosh. I don't want to guarantee that, but I do want to say it has the potential to do that. A lot of this has to do with how you're going to assimilate the information. But since April, we've been making our way through this very tense, highly transformative time. Actually, since March of 2020, we've been traveling through a very intense time. We had, I think, 6 eclipses in 2020. We had, I think, 4 in 2021, and now 4 again this year. But we are being asked to change our course in our life, both individually and collectively. Okay. That doesn't mean you have to take a 360 degree turn, but at least 2 degrees at a time would be good. Mercury, where's Mercury? Here's Mercury right here. So Mercury is sextiling Neptune during this lunation, and it's also squaring Saturn. So be mindful of your communication regardless. Remember, Mercury's in retrograde. So one should be really mindful, not only how you speak to other people, but how you're speaking to yourself. You know, like, what are you really saying to yourself? What's that negative juju going on in your ruminations of your mind? I talk about it a lot in yoga classes. I'll say, you know, when you feel yourself teetering in a pose, who's judging you? You're the only one. So notice these little ways where you kind of glomp onto negative ways of being, and start to kind of stop them in their tracks. Actually, don't kind of, just do it. And then Mercury squaring Saturn creates almost like a restriction, or a, remember Saturn is the Lord Kronos. He's the timekeeper. And when he squares, when Saturn and Mercury square each other, it creates sort of a restriction and time delays and things. So just remember that, everything happens for a reason. I know it's hard to believe that sometimes, but if you experience a delay in communication with someone, or, something has shifted, just try to imagine that it's all for the best. And then again, dates, Mercury will go direct on the 3rd, Saturn retrogrades on the 4th. So there's a lot of karmic action happening with this new moon. So just pay attention to who's coming in and out of your life. Mercury is really active. It's also trining Pluto during this lunation. And so, and because of Mercury's placement, with sitting in Taurus, when all this is happening, everything will ground us in. We will feel a little bit more grounded. We will feel a little bit more stable. We've felt, especially with the new moon in Aries, it's like airy fairy. We've got this like, there is a grounding sensation to this new moon. And then 3 really, really great aspects to this new moon. I have to say, the new moon is sextiling to Jupiter. It's also sextiling Mars, because Mars and Jupiter are just about up here. They're up on almost a conjunction. And it's sextiling, I don't know. I don't think it's really sextiling Chiron. See a little Chiron right here? It's more, I want to focus on Mars and I want to focus on Jupiter. So when Mars and Jupiter are together, remember Mars is the initiator. Jupiter is the expander. Jupiter is about knowledge and wisdom and education. So Mars is going to give us this abundance of energy and initiative and courage to use what we've learned, to use what we see, to expand what we know, and to do it in a way that's going to support others. Remember, we're in the Aquarian age. And so this Aquarian age is about, like my friend Nadine says, power to the people. We are really moving toward a more altruistic view, a more humanitarian view. And so with the new moon sextiling Jupiter and Mars, it gives us this sense of pushing through. No, I don't want to say pushing through. I want to say overcoming our obstacles with new tools when we don't feel like we're struggling. It's more just like this new path will show itself and you'll go, why didn't I take that before? Right? So this new moon, and with Mars and Aries, thank you so much for letting me do both in one recording, is really about moving toward your purpose, toward your passion, with a sense of courage. And it takes courage, I think, sometimes just to get up in the morning, and to be our best selves. So with this energy, know that you are being so supported into the next thing, whatever the next thing is. And I can't wait to see what it is. So I want to say thank you so much for listening. And if you want more information about how to read your birth chart, just basics of astrology, maybe how to match up your birth chart with what's going on now, a general idea, go to myastrocast.com and you'll get a slew of videos from me. So I want to say thank you so much for joining. I love one another. Please be kind to each other, be kind to strangers, and keep that high vibe in the heart. Thank you so much. Have a gorgeous day. Namaste.